Wow, that was interesting. I'm just rewatching the very ending of that Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt, or The Fiend, uh, Hell in a Cell match, and I still get the same reaction that I tweeted about at the Danny Cage. That ending, and I tweeted out last night immediately after. That ending reminds me of a real long, heartfelt text to my wife, and she responds with K. And if none of you guys have ever had that happen to you, well, hopefully never with my wife, but if you've never had that happen to you, it is very deflating. It doesn't mean anything other than, it doesn't mean they hate you. It doesn't mean wrestling's over or anything like that. It just was very deflating. But I think I always say there's a lot to unpack there, and I think there is a lot to unpack there. But I just want to talk about the match of the night. I think I thought the first one with Becky and Bayley was very good. I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised. I actually thought the women's tag team match was very good, and I thought it was very smart booking to make that tag team match a tornado match. It made sense for the story. It made sense that they shouldn't be tagging in and out. It's just bedlam, pandemonium, all that stuff. And I dug it a lot. And I was waiting for the T swerve at the end, but I think the crowd is ready to love Daniel Bryan again, and I think it makes sense. Okay, so I was going to talk about also training last night. For those who follow me on Twitter at the Danny Cage, I talked about I haven't lost my stuff with the students in quite a long time, many years actually, where I really went off and really went on a tirade, and it happened this Saturday. Just so you know, I will get to the whole Bray Wyatt Fiend thing, but I just want to touch on this while it's fresh on my mind. So, we had an event, and what we do is I have a headset, and you can talk to the referees, and you can agent matches. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and everyone thinks this is exposing the business, but what I try to do is when I say all these things that goes on, is I'm exposing the business to more fans. When people appreciate everything that goes into it, they'll appreciate wrestling that much more, and just won't go, oh, it's fake, it's this, it's that. I think they'll understand the art of it. So with that being said, what I usually do is I start off the first half, and I'll have the headset, and I'll make sure everything's working good, and getting the refs prepped, and making sure the show is flowing right. And if anybody's been to our show, we start exactly at 7 o'clock. Our intermissions are almost spot on at 8 o'clock. What I do for the intermission is I give it roughly a 10-minute window, but if people are still buying stuff and there's still lines, then I will give them the 5-minute warning and let them get to their seats. I don't like to start the show while people are standing up, because then, there's a myriad of reasons why. Number one, I think it's rude. Number two, it'll make people not go and get concessions and get promo pictures, buy 8x10s and T-shirts and stuff like that, because they're afraid they're going to miss the show. So I always let the show play out, or intermission play out, until there's not a long line at the stand. But anyway, so then in the second half, what we did is I'll randomly give the headset to somebody, one of the wrestlers. I'll let them agent and stuff like that. And during the show, we had people on like Ricky Reyes and Bull James, and and I'm looking around, and I'm here I am watching these matches and paying attention and taking notes and thinking of things, and I see a bunch of wrestlers in the back that say they want to learn and they want to do this and they want to do that, and they're playing on their phones. Stuff like that was irking me. And then we had a segment where we were going to quote-unquote do a beer bash, where I was going to bring some of the wrestlers in that started out with me back in like 2011-12, and we were going to pretend to do a beer bash because we didn't want to get beer anywhere. So what we were going to do is get all the beers set, get ready to open them, and then the heels were going to come out. Well, what happened is the guys in the ring didn't listen, and they all opened their beers up. So now I have 4 open beers, and I'm not like the WWE. I don't have 5 or 6 canvases on top of each other. So I have 1 canvas. And what I do then is I gradually take some of them and I put them inside the cooler, and I push the cooler to the side, and the guy's on the microphone talking, and to get me out of harm's way, I say, that's it, cut his mic, and I storm to the back to cut his mic. Now the heels come and jump the guys in the ring, and I told them just to couple punches, kicks, lay the boots to them, that's it. Instead, everybody's amped up, and everybody goes flying out of the ring, and the cooler gets knocked over, and water everywhere. If that's not bad enough, I get out of the ring, and I'm looking over towards our staff of students, and they're all sitting in the corner by the concession stand, just talking and hanging out, and there's nobody running to get a mop, a bucket, a towel, anything to clean up anything. So I kind of lost it on them. So that was, strike 2 or 3 on the night. And everybody will be like, well, how come the cooler didn't come out of the ring? Well, I put it all the way in the corner because they were supposed to be on me boots and kicks. And if I took the cooler out of the ring, it's just like tells everybody that stuff's about to go down. If I just go, hey, man, cut his mic, because there was no other wrestlers out there. There was one guy against like 5 people. So nobody thought anything was going to happen. If I took the cooler out, then everyone knows, yeah, something's going to happen. So that happened. So then we had to stop the show, clean off the canvas, get everything cleaned up. And then we were having a segment where one of our teams were coming back, and we needed the lights killed at a certain moment. So I told the one kid, hey, as soon as intermission's over, I want you over by those lights. Right before the main event is, I want you over by those lights, so no one's standing there. You're not giving anything away, this, and this. So as I'm doing that, and now keep in mind, I'm also now checking, do we have paper towels? Do we have this? Do we have toilet paper? Is there this or is that? Because, none of the guys at concession stands move. They just sit there, and they're new kids, and they've been taught, but they just won't think for themselves or do anything. It's very frustrating, and it's because, like one of the wrestlers said, is because you really haven't, laid down the law with any of them yet. They're just, coming here and doing whatever. So the match starts, and now I'm worried because I have to be in a spot for the lights and this and that, and I got to make sure everything's going good and get the sound cue ready and everything like that. And as I look, I see like 4 or 5 fans standing over by where the lights are, and the person who's supposed to be manning the lights sitting by the concession stand. So I go over and I tell the people, hey, please, can you please move? Can you please move? Oh, and not only that, then during intermission, we have a wrestling ring, another wrestling ring. We have 2 rings. So the one's all the way in the corner by the concession stand, by all the wrestlers who are working. And literally there's kids in the ring running around, and nobody's stopping them from being out of the ring. They're all got their heads down in their phones. So there's another strike. I think there's about strike 40 at this time. So I go over and I tell him, get over here for the lights. Finally he does. Oh, yeah, and during the dry run to do the lights, because we were going through it just to make sure the light cues were all good. We're like, we had like, I'm going to kill this light, and then those go down. And we're doing it, and this light goes out, that light goes out, this light goes out. And then he pushes the lights down, and not all of them go off at once, so then he has to do another one. I said, what happened? And it's because he had food in his hand doing it. And he thinks it's a joke. So here's this guy who's pitching me creative on what he wants to do and how he wants to do it and all this stuff, and he can't even turn off lights. So that happened. So then after the show, I had a discussion, and they were like, yeah, I think you need to do a locker room talk. So I had a locker room talk, and I kind of went off, and I kind of explained to these people, like, all these people are not as good as they think they are, and especially, like, I'm not going to name names, but, like, let's say somebody big and badass returns, and you're the heel. You retreat and you look scared and you give the impression that you're scared. You don't get out of the ring and then start talking junk at the curtain and kill them coming back in the feel of them coming back. And that happened. It's just like people just think they got to get their stuff in. So that happened. So I just gave a discussion and talked about how, like, a lot of these kids, they think just because they're doing stuff here that they made it, and like it's so embarrassing. And I tried to explain, like, when I was at NXT, that you would have the kids who were on the shows setting up and taking down the ring. I talked about Jordan Miles and Drew Gulak when Half Hour called it on the fly, tore down the house, everybody high-fiving them in the back, everything. And as soon as the building was clear, then they say, let's go, and then everybody goes and cleans up. And those guys just put a pair of shorts over all their gear, and we're cleaning up. And here's these guys, our kids that will sit in the back and try to avoid work because they think, oh, I've been here 2, 3 years, 4 years. I don't have to do the ring anymore. I don't have to clean this up anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. So it's very frustrating. And that's what I was. That was another thing that didn't work out for Future of Honor for me. Is I'm trying to instill like some work ethic with some of these kids, and we were hosting the Future of Honor shows, and these guys were rolling in like at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock for the show, with just their bag, and then they would just leave afterwards, not helping clean up, not asking to help clean up. Not showing up early and asking what they could help with, so like you're just right now just throwing bad habits at them, and repetition breeds habit. And if you're going to be a slacker from jump, you're going to be a slacker for life. So like that, there was that. So I lost my stuff, and some people took the time to text message me and say thank you, thanks for the wake up call. I didn't realize things were like this. But like the reason I told one of the guys is like the reason I haven't been yelling is because you guys would complain that I yell too much and that I complain too much. I was like, but you guys don't realize why I'm doing it. It's because of these things. When I was doing these things, like I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your coach, a mentor, to look out for you guys and to do what a coach does. And a coach and a father figure doesn't let you become slackers and just be jerks. I want you guys all to make money in business, and you're not in wrestling business, and you're not going to do that by half-assing stuff, avoiding work. There's a reason John Cena is in the place he is because he works his ass off. So I want people that work their ass off, not avoid work. All right, so there was that. So I went off on that. So hopefully, we'll see how it goes. I wasn't in last night. I told everybody they should be in for open ring, and I even gave them the option if they go in for open ring, they could even watch the network and just be at the wrestling building and talk wrestling and police themselves and talk amongst themselves and see what's up, because it's optional on Sundays. And usually maybe get like 8 people in out of like our 20, 30 students. And I told the people it's like very frustrating because they're like, oh, that's my time with my girl. Guess what? You have a chance to be in a ring. Then make your time with your girl either be Monday when we don't have training, or Wednesday when we don't have training, or Saturday when we don't have shows. This sacrifice is called sacrifice because you're sacrificing something. If you're doing something in your spare time, that means you're really not sacrificing. So you need to sacrifice for wrestling. Like I said, man, it's your business, man. It's your business. Invest in yourself. All right, so let's get to this Hell in a Cell thing. So, like, I analyzed this, and I don't even know if I really have that big of a problem with it. And it's going to probably anger people. I thought it was decent. I think everybody wanted to see that title change, and that's fine. But I guess what they did worked, but here's how I would have tweaked it. Those red lights, and if you're really married to that and you really wanted to have those red lights like that the whole time, like what's the explanation? Why are they like that? Why were those red lights on? Like why? So I would think, okay, maybe it's because like something with the Fiend, like supernatural stuff with the Fiend. And look, man, I can buy into the supernatural stuff, but like, if you wanted to make that really work for you in the visualization, as he's getting like curb stomped and different things like that, I would kind of make them flicker a little bit and then come back on. And then like as he gets up, there's red lights, and then he gets knocked back down. Maybe like kind of the lights go to normal again. or go in and out, kind of just imagine it's a robot and they're like the Terminator, and you see the eye flickering. You know they're taking damage and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden it goes out. You're like, oh shit. Oops, I'm sorry, I cursed. I'm trying not to, but I'm not editing it out. And then you're like, oh man. But then like after he did all that stuff with him and he smashed him with a sledgehammer, you have the lights all turned back on. Yeah, you needed verbalization. There was not verbalization of the referee saying like, I'm stopping the match. I couldn't hear it anyway. I would have ran over and said like, I'm stopping the match. I would have literally got down and said, I'm stopping the match. I'm stopping the match. And then like as the paramedics came down and they got over top of him, I think the lights should have went red again. And that's when the Fiend came up and did all that stuff. But, like, I think the lights should have been flickering a little bit at the very end when he was doing all the carnage and all the plunder was all over him. I just think that would have added to it because now you're not only going with the sense of, like, watching it, like the visualization and rationalizing everything, but those lights are subliminally telling you a story. And I think, like, if all the lights were on and everybody thought the Fiend was done, and everyone's like, oh man, and then they're cleaning up and the crowd is booing, and then when those lights went dark again and went to red, I think the crowd would have actually popped. They popped a little bit for him to come up and beating up everybody, but I think they would have popped even more if the lights were out and then went again. And if they're going to do that, I think that's how they should do it going forward, or just bag it all together. But I'm interested in what tonight's going to be, and like... I remember watching wrestling, and it would be like, and granted it wasn't pay-per-views, but I remember watching shows, and you would just be like put it this way, man, like everyone says like compare it to sports, but you can't really compare it to sports because there's no sport like pro wrestling. So like I just remember watching like Sons of Anarchy when Opie died, and people were flipping out. About Sons of Anarchy killing Opie, and that's the only show I can rationalize with because it's the only one I follow, or did follow, and still do. It's a great show. But you know, there's people saying they're never going to watch again, they're this or that. It screwed with your emotions, man. It was awesome. It really screwed with your emotions, and that's exactly what this show did. If he got the belt, I don't think as many people were talking about tonight. And I think as many people would. You know, whether it's good, bad, or whatever, people are talking about it. You know, for example, like Brazzers and Blue Chew and all these people were tweeting the WWE, and guess what? There's probably a lot of people that don't really watch WWE that they just got a whole new hit on their website or whatever to find out what's going on, and guess what? Now they might tune into Monday Night Raw tonight. Who knows? So that's my take on it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I don't have issues if you do think it's a big deal. I'm not going to yell at you or I love fans participating any way they want. I would never get mad at a fan. I only get mad at a fan when everything is matter of fact. Or they just say some stuff or like really off color. But if you're going to say things like, hey, you know, this is horrible, this was that, this is cool. That's your take, man. I kind of dug it because now it's got you guessing. It's pushing those emotions. The pay-per-view just isn't the end of the story. The story, you know, this is just a chapter. So a chapter can end like that because it's making you tune in for the next chapter, which is Monday Night Raw. And then it's going to make you tune in for SmackDown, and it's going to make you tune in for the draft and all this other stuff. So, like, it's not just, standalone movie. It's a whole chapter. So I think it's cool, man. Like I said, I would have just changed it with the color. I either wouldn't have had the lights or I would have done that thing with the lights. I would have, because I also don't like the red cage, man. I like the old school cage, but I guess, you know, new era, new everything. It is what it is. But that's my hot take on it, man. I saw somebody else compare it. Like at the time, everyone thought it was a DQ, and I did too. I didn't know what they were doing. I should have thought something because I think WWE put a poll out and it was like, how's the Bray Wyatt match going to end? I think it said like Bray Wyatt wins, Seth Rollins wins, disqualification. And I was like, how can there be a disqualification? So I didn't know. I felt that kind of weird. And they were probably using that to gauge what people thought, but whatever. I was looking and somebody was mentioning how at AEW Basically, Dean Ambrose came in and attacked Kenny Omega, and it wasn't a disqualification, which I get that point too. But I just think that went so far away from it that it really didn't have that much to do with the match because like they went away. Um, but if I'm sure if Dean Ambrose just stayed out there and kept on beating up Kenny Omega by the ring, I guess I just didn't get it either. Right when I saw it, I go, oh, disqualification. That's a weird way to end the AEW, and then like it didn't end that way. So it is what it is. But I thought the Hell in a Cell overall was a very good. Are they pay-per-views anymore? I guess pay-per-views or specials. I thought it was very good overall, and I thought the ending it left people talking. And speaking of talking, man, I watched that. that Bill Goldberg Riddle thing, and yeah, that's something else, man. And I know that I hear you. I don't think people realize the badass that Riddle is, and that I hear you is like, yeah, I'm done talking to you, because I think Riddle. Reading people and knowing Riddle and watching that encounter, and I don't know how much was cut out, but when I watched it, you can definitely see it was real. Because I know the look in Riddle's eyes when it first happened, because he was generally like surprised and kind of happy and was kind of feeling out the situation. But then I think as it went on, Riddle thought it was just going to be all fun and games, and then kind of Goldberg's like trying to like punk him out, and that's pissing Riddle off. I can tell that. So it is what it is. I thought it was hilarious, and it just proves that Riddle does not care. And I love the kid for it. He's such a goofball. But God, it was hilarious. I was dying. I was dying. Me and my wife watched it like 10 times, and I watched it like 50 times more on my phone. Oh, my God. All right, so that's it. That's my take on everything. Feel free to comment below. Let me know what you think. Or hit me up on Twitter, The Danny Cage, on Instagram, @RealDannyCage, on Facebook, The Danny Cage. I will also be doing a preview for the Wednesday Night Wars, quote unquote. I use that because like everyone goes like, well, we're not at war. Man, it's just a name. Just get over it, bro. So I just want to give a preview on AEW and what NXT is doing on Wednesday. Then Thursday I will give my Wednesday night wrap-up. That'll be episode 4. Episode 3 will be my pre-show stuff, and episode 4 will be Thursday. All right, that's it. This is the Danny Cage Show. Thank you for listening. I try to keep it under 30 minutes. It is now 23 minutes. And no, there's no music. There's no flashing lights. There's no bells and whistles. It's just a soup to nuts little radio show that you can listen to while you're driving around. Thank you so much. Love you guys and girls. Bye.